Hello, everyone. I'm Aaron Grossman. I'm joined by Marilyn Steffen. We are just two teachers, and this is season two. It's been some time since we did a recording. I think the last time Marilyn and I put one of these together was March 17th when we were on our spring break, and we thought, you know what, let's somehow blend Unit 8, move it online within Benchmark Advance, and then either by April 1st or April 15th, we'll be back in our classroom with our kids. And here we are approaching August with, well, either we're going to be in a socially distanced classroom or we're going to be doing some kind of distance learning online. And that's the impetus for this vlog, which is we're going to account for both outcomes. And although initially this vlog was largely about Benchmark Advance, we're going to be thinking about different ideas and resources in that first week. So some of it will be about to Benchmark Advance, although a lot of it I think will be of value to people who are not using Benchmark Advance. So we are going to just jump right in, and I've asked Marilyn if she will share what her first week has been sort of looks like right now, again, accounting for a socially distanced classroom or distance learning. And there we are. So Marilyn, go ahead, and if you don't mind, just sort of sharing a couple of the things that are in your template.
So my first week, no matter how you're going to teach, blended, hybrid, distance, brick and mortar, you can use these plans. So for Benchmark, when we do review and routines, those first 15 to 20 days, whichever grade level you're in, we chose books last year. If you go back to some of our past videos, we chose books that went along with the skills: Reader's Workshop, Being an Active Listener, and then we have Author's Purpose, Respectful Conversations, and Author's Purpose again. Each one of these books chosen is based on that. It models that for the students and gives you a conversation to have with the students. So what I did was I linked those books in, whether it's on YouTube, SafeTube, I put a link there in case we're not in the brick and mortar. Otherwise, I'll read them in person live to them. But this gives me an opportunity to be ready either way. So that's what I've done with those books. All right, the next thing I wanted to show you is the All About Me, getting to know kids, whether it's in the class. This would be a perfect activity if you're brick and mortar, but it would also be a really fun thing to have the kids do. There are lots of different ones, but we created. This is a lovely template from Slides Mania. She makes some amazing templates for anything you want to do for distance learning. So the kids will click on their favorite subject here or simply go page by page. And this will give them an opportunity to share so you can learn more about them and they can end up sharing with their classmates. What Aaron and I talked about would be nice to do with this then is after they complete this PowerPoint, they'll practice saying it and practice what they've written, and then be able to share with the classmates so everyone can see, because right now a PowerPoint goes just to the teacher unless you put it in Teams and share it as a file, but you'd have to have one for every student. So putting it in Flipgrid is much better. And then the next day the kids can give feedback of what they learned about someone. You could give them a prompt, make sure you ask a question and also make a statement to each student that you respond to. The final thing, or not the final, let's go back to the schedule. So here it is written out in the week. You're going to do your All About Me PowerPoint probably on Monday, and then on Tuesday allow the kids to rehearse, whether it's at home or at school. And then Wednesday give some feedback to your classmates. And on Thursday, another skill you want to go over with your students in case you're in brick and mortar, but you're about to be shut down and you don't know, you want to, because it could happen. Okay, so here is the video conferencing etiquette, otherwise known as netiquette. You can go show this with your students either online or independently. You can assign it to them so they can watch it later. For Zoom or Microsoft Meet now, these are kind of non-negotiables, I guess, that you want kids to enter and have a specific etiquette when they enter on Zoom. And it's nice if you can go over this in the classroom ahead of time, but it's also very nice if you watch it with the students and really have some discussions about what you don't want to see, laying down in bed or your laptop is crooked on a table, something like that. So this is a quick video you can show your students that first week. to get ready for either way, in person, because now we have to teach during your review and routines of benchmark. It's not only how do you share with a partner, how do you share with a partner online, or how do you meet with people online? There is a whole new etiquette that students need to go through and learn. So that can be part of your review and routines, whether in class or not.
Much like Marilyn described, here's a template outlining some of the big outcomes within week 1. She has been a little bit more thorough on what her benchmark outcomes look like. So I will skip some of those in favor of some of the things here in math. And many people are already familiar with Jo Boaler and her ucube.org, and just I think a delightful activity where she calls low floor, high ceiling. So I found other ones that fit within what Boaler was trying to argue for, which is you want low floor so all of your students have access, but then simultaneously you want it to be rich enough that your sort of strongest students or maybe most experienced in math also have something to chew on. So one of them, and this is how I introduce my number talk, is through which one doesn't belong. So this is which one doesn't belong. Helpfully, it gives you some major topics to look at. I'm going to pull up shapes, and then you can see this idea of low floor, high ceiling. So you would put one of these images in front of your students. So this is the first example here. And basically, we're going to make a mathematical argument. Which one doesn't belong? And, naturally, some kids will almost immediately recognize we have 3 triangles here, but this one is clearly different. So we can make that mathematical argument based on the number of sides or vertices. Similarly, there's only one here with a right angle. So that's that high ceiling thing. So although right angles typically are not introduced in the first part of 3rd grade, some kids may walk in already having known that, so they can make a mathematical argument. Also, that low floor, I think most of your kids could recognize that this one is shaded while the other 3 are not. So in each instance, we can make a mathematical argument for each one of these parts of a grid for why it might not belong. So this one here is pretty clever. This one's clearly different. It's the only one that's blue. And then if we look closely, some kids may understand that this one is angled differently. This one might be larger, or they may recognize that the unit is just different if they have enough experiences. And then fitting within that same piece, this idea of low floor, high ceiling, and putting together mathematical routines, there's something called SD mysteries. What you have in front of you is an SD mystery. This is number 1. There are quite literally at this point hundreds of them that are free, and some are banded K2, and then others are banded through 5th grade. And I want, sort of if you're a participant right now, I want you to think about, right, this is exactly the piece of content that's going to work in your brick and mortar, but it's also going to work in a socially distanced classroom. Because we just pull up the PowerPoint, we're going to play this. So in this particular instance, here's the, they're going to make an estimate. That is, the students will make an estimate about the number of erasers that look like cupcakes. So how many objects are in that glass? And if you're using that chat field, that's where you can have kids add their estimation, because we can refine those. Or the way I've had it is I've opened up that whiteboard, and as kids learn to annotate on my screen, they can add their answer to my whiteboard, and then we can go back and review those answers. So we start putting these clues up, and those people who are watching will immediately recognize how this is a great opportunity to review some of those skills that they've come in from 2nd grade or 1st grade with. So the answer is less than 50. So now we're making a comparison. Largely speaking, all of our students will have access to being able to see if their original estimate matches clue number 1. And we have the answer as an odd number. So then we get to review that content from kindergarten, right? Does the number have a partner? We have, it's a multiple of 3. Now we get into those 3rd grade standards. The answer includes 2 different digits. And so what a great opportunity to talk about the difference between a number and how numbers are often, there are different digits within that number. And if you really want to be industrious with your students, you can talk about fractions and how digits are represented in fractions. And then we get that 5th clue. And so ultimately the kids have enough clues that they've continued to refine their original estimate. And then here's their chance to sort of either share some excitement, enthusiasm that they got it right, or right? We'll do another one another day.
Mhm.
A second piece is something called EdPuzzle, and we built this into our review and routine. So if you are a benchmark user, or even if you are not, EdPuzzle takes YouTube videos and cuts them up in such a way that kids are accountable to the information that they're receiving. So the experience, instead of being very passive, requires of them a certain level of activity here. But I've logged in EdPuzzle. EdPuzzle is free to a certain point, and essentially it's around the number of pieces of content you can curate. But you can curate 20 pieces of content. And then if you don't want to play for the premium version, you simply cycle stuff out. So you delete it. So as you move from one subject to another, just get rid of the stuff that you no longer need. And what I've pulled up here is a video that Marilyn made. So we've taken and created pictorial supports for all of the read-alouds from the read-aloud handbook. Marilyn then recorded herself reading one of the read-alouds. So that allows us, again, to move things online in the distance learning format. And then with EdPuzzle, I can take that same video that Marilyn recorded on YouTube. Here it is now, and anybody who is on EdPuzzle can find my video. And I've added questions. So as a student is watching,
Today I'm going to read aloud a
so
selection
here's the
called
video
Watch
from
Your
Maryland, and awkwardly I'm going to make her listen to herself watch or listen to herself read his story. But notice what happens here. There's almost immediately a pause point. So this passage is an example of, and it holds the kids accountable to having listened to what Marilyn said when she established part of that instructional goal. And the kids cannot continue with the video until they answer it. What you as a teacher get on the other end then is essentially a grade book where it heat maps the kids. So they're either green, they got everything right, they're that yellow, right, so some caution, they didn't do that well with it, or then ultimately they're red. And then it's just a good piece of information for you insofar as, did the kids comprehend it, and then which kids did and did not. Even better, you'll actually know who actually completed it, because they'll get no coloring whatsoever. Within the first 15 days of Benchmark Advance, although you're not limited if you're not a Benchmark Advance user, kids get in that habit of responding to things that they're reading. And in this particular case, we took that same idea, and this is where Marilyn some time ago taught me about the value and utility of having kids complete assignments in PowerPoint. Because if you push out a template to a child, typically in Word, the fields begin to move as you start adding text to things. In this particular case, because of the fields themselves, as a kid begins to populate their answer, it won't move. This becomes static, and so if it becomes too long, it begins to shrink the text so it fits. This particular template is matched to the question jar, again, like we said, within Benchmark Advance, and so here are some fiction questions that get them started. Here are some nonfiction questions to get them started. And this particular template is 15 days, so that it gets you through the 15 days of the review and routines within Benchmark. So, also included in that template in the lesson plans is an assessment. So those of you who are trying to get a baseline of how your kids are doing with writing as they walk into your classroom, we found this from the Vermont Writing Collaborative, and this was posted at Achieve the Core. And everything at Achieve the Core is an open educational resource, so this is also posted on our website. And what it is, essentially, it's a prompt, highlighted right here. Which kind of pet is best, a cat or a dog? But in keeping with the standards, we want to make sure that kids are using text and retrieving text, or retrieving evidence from text, before they clearly state an opinion. So this particular activity, it gives you the directions, and then best of all, it gives you the two passages. So they're going to be reading about why cats are better, why dogs are better, and then ultimately they give you their own writing. And that can become the springboard then for getting your kids in the disposition of what I call CERC, or sometimes ICERC, right? This idea of claim, evidence, reasoning, and some kind of closure. So also included in that template, I kind of move Benchmark around. So on day 5 is when you do your first informative writing. I move it to day 3 for a variety of reasons, but this is the type of thing, and if you are clever, you can Google should your recess be longer, the Attention Storyworks, and you'll find it online. And so same idea. There's lots of good evidence here, and then we can begin helping our kids and nurturing that disposition of supporting every claim with evidence from a text. So we got one last thing I want to show you. So this is, again, it's irrelevant we're in brick and mortar and we're socially distanced, or if we happen to be doing distance learning. We want kids to be as safe as possible online, especially since, again, regardless of setting, we know that we're going to be using a lot of technology this year. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Interland, it's a clever way and a gamified way of kids learning about how to be safe while they're using the internet. So this is free, and Interland actually has 4 different worlds. So among the worlds are, right, don't fall for fake, share with care, so that's about the information that we're going to post online, secure your secrets, so the importance of passwords, and again, who gets that information, and then we get by, again, being a good digital citizenship. And what's really clever about the gamification is kids go back to it over and over and over throughout the school year because they actually kind of like the puzzles and the challenges that are built into it. And then like everything else, they become particularly adept, they master it, and for some reason they need to beat scores. Either that or they're so starved for entertainment in my classroom, they find themselves on it over and over and over again. All right, Marilyn, so you've shared some ideas that come from your lesson template, and there are obviously many more there. I've done the same thing. We tagged this 10 things that would help us a socially distanced classroom or distance learning. Other things that you may want to share with some of the people who are watching?
Well, I did forget to mention Storyline Online that has books read by actors and actresses. And that is fun. I enjoy listening to those stories because I enjoy seeing who's reading. But, you know, we're going to have this issue of kids not being able to check out books or limited. So we're going to want some of those resources for kids to have books available to them that they can listen to. Or I saw that Epic is offering another year for free, and students can access the books from wherever they are during school hours. What those hours are, you'd have to go directly to the website to find out, but there's another opportunity for bringing books to kids that they can be read to them, or on Epic that they can read themselves.
All right, so those of you who don't know, Epic kind of looks like Netflix, where they're curating, I think, really popular titles for children. So they're great books, great titles, highly engaging. And then I know, Marilyn, as a teacher, you found clever ways of using it as well.
Yes, I have. I love that you can make a collection of whatever subject it is you want, and then you tell the kids and it pops up in their little mailbox, and you can say you need to check your mailbox, and in there I have a collection of books that I'd like you to choose one and read about this topic. You know, be ready to share tomorrow if you're going to flip something, or if you're going to meet in Zoom or Teams when you want to meet with the class in a whole group setting. So they could have pre-read a book in a specific theme that you're learning.
You know, I did not know that until you just mentioned that, because now, right, this gets closer to things like text sets, or within Benchmark Advanced when we have to do our first animal report as part of an culminating activity. So we can be curating resources for our kids.
Exactly. We can make those collections ahead of time, I think, and keep them all in your library. I think with all the uncertainty out there, it helps that if one person could find one little thing to do that's within our video, it can help, because then they can pool it with other things, other teachers they talk to, and other collaborating. I mean, we've learned a lot talking to other people too, as you said on the Friday Zooms. I just think it's going to be helpful no matter what. There is nothing else out there like this. You can't go back. You can only go forward, and everything is brand new.
And I guess, you know, I'll just segue, as we always do awkwardly, to we encourage you to go to just2teachers.com. We have these Twitter feeds, we have the Facebook group, and we welcome any kind of feedback that you might have, and suggestions and tips, especially around things that we might have missed. So Marilyn, I will literally see you tomorrow on our Friday Zoom. But with that, let's just say goodbye to everybody who might be watching. So goodbye.
Right. Thanks everybody for watching. Goodbye. Thanks, Aaron.
Marilyn, best of luck with everything. I think I'll talk to you tomorrow about the very same subject, which is the news cycle is crazy.
All over again. Day to day changes.
We're filming our vlog. Now on YouTube.
Oh,
That's totally okay. I'll give her opinion of how this was going. I hope her session went better than ours.
I think she stole my dog too. All right.